So let's talk about Huobi moving out of China, which is a mess, and it's an unfortunate mess for them. So Huobi is one of the older exchanges based out of China, but they are not based out of China anymore. They're quickly rolling back all their investments and employees in that region, moving out of the area. I think back in December, they applied for a financial license in the US, but someone can probably fact check me on that. Regardless, they're moving out of China and it's affecting the futures market for Bitcoin. And at first glance, you might be like, oh, why do those things have a correlation? Well, what we're seeing on chain and from data itself is that Huobi, which used to be a very big indicator for where price was moving, just because there was a lot of traders using that exchange for its liquidity, are now changing how the futures market for Bitcoin looks, which then affects how the spot price of Bitcoin also moves. So looking at this report from Moya Shen, we see actually wrong reporter. I have not seen her yet. Leela,
Lila.
how do you say it, Zach?
Lila.
Lila. Wow.
Lila. Yeah,
Moya
UK
is always
based.
on the on-chain data, so this was a little
Lila
rug on me.
is Lila's good.
There we go. There we go. Anyways, Huobi is only accounting for about a 5% move in the Bitcoin futures price compared to Binance or OKX's 10% move in Bitcoin futures price over the last little period here. And that's while Bitcoin's price has been going up. So typically, if you see Bitcoin's spot price go up, you'll also see Bitcoin's future price increase more so. Can't give you a percentage, but you typically see it move a lot more. And it's not happening with Huobi right now because they're moving out of China. And there's a lot of regulatory pressure and they're losing a lot of liquidity to other exchanges like Binance and like OKX. So Zach, going to throw this one to you. Pretty interesting to see that we have like the meat space interactions affecting the price of Bitcoin in this particular instance with this exchange.
Yeah, this is a really great entryway to a bigger story, and I think this is really well done. I think the story of Huobi right now is quite interesting, right? I mean, they bet on the wrong horse ultimately. They said, "Hey, you know what? We're going to be like we're going to orient our business around being available, present, and easy for mainstream China users." The cards didn't fall in their favor, and I think they saw that was happening. They moved people to Singapore, they moved people other way, like to other places, and it's just really fascinating to see this play out in terms of price data. I think, I remember meeting with a Huobi representative like in Davos or something in like January 2020, and they were sort of gearing up to make this big push to have like sort of a public figurehead and to really rival Binance in capturing the Asia region, which remains a huge opportunity in the crypto space. And for the context to change rather drastically on them over the past year or so is just a really interesting business story to me, I think. And I think that being able to tell that through price data is a really great vantage point on what's going on with that company as they recalculate what they're going to be in the market. So yeah, that's the thinking there.
Yeah. So I'll take it up again just to talk about Binance. Actually, I have a question for you, Naomi. I want to segue into really quick here. So if we're looking at Binance, they're dominating the market even more so if Huobi kind of slips. And maybe OKX kind of moves into that airspace that Huobi has kind of vacated. But it's interesting to see Binance continue to be dominant. I'm also wondering about like the decentralized finance aspect of this. We saw DeFi exchanges really take off over this last year. But in terms of like volumes versus centralized exchanges in Asia, I don't have data in front of me, but my feeling is that these centralized exchanges are still going to dwarf DeFi exchanges at the moment. So wondering how that kind of plays out over the next 5 years, if it even really matters that Huobi is kind of disappearing because centralized exchanges themselves are going to be eaten up later by protocols. Naomi, I'll give it to you though.
Yeah, I think the decentralized finance question is a big one. I'm wondering which direction China is going to head in. I mean, right now, we really don't have a replacement for the fiat on-ramp to get into cryptocurrency that centralized exchanges provide. Currently, DeFi is fantastic. I think that things like Thorchain are going to take over. There are lots of different alternatives to Thorchain that are being developed as well. But I think that the crypto-to-crypto element is definitely going to have DeFi replace centralized exchanges, but we haven't figured out the puzzle piece that is, how do I get my fiat and turn it into crypto? And for Chinese users, it's a very difficult question. I think a lot of them will be, for trading, will be using DeFi. But these people also want to just get their money out of, the national fiat. They want to be getting into crypto, and it's just, exponentially harder for them now that China is cracking down. I'm not sure what the solution is, and I know there are different companies working on types of solutions, but because traditional finance is such a rigid and tightly controlled infrastructure, it's very, like, if they want to ban this stuff, it's very easy to. It's very hard to create a parallel financial infrastructure that deals in this fiat currency, because you by definition you need a counterparty, so you need a centralized entity, and once you have a centralized entity, it could be targeted by governments. Like, you can't really have a decentralized way of laying these these pipes for traditional finance. You have things like BISC, which are awesome, and they kind of provide a kind of decentralized alternative. You have spin-offs. I think it's Havana for Monero, and there's another one for Ethereum, that where the underlying transactions are made in these different currencies. But again, liquidity is very low on these. It's very cumbersome. But if the Chinese people don't have any other option, I wonder whether these things will start to take off more. I wonder whether companies will really start to invest in getting the UX better and just getting rid of that friction, so that these things can be more usable for people in countries like China. But I'm just not sure how much better they can get. But Jen, would love your thoughts and maybe a final take on all this.
Yeah, I don't have any thoughts to add to what you were saying, and I just want to end the show on a happier note. So, Will, I would like to show you the pie charts in this story.
Oh, there we go.
As an example of how to create pie charts. Easy to understand, colorful, easy on the eyes. Charts? Much different than the chart that you showed us, I think, last week. So, no, I did not, but I happily endorse them.
Don't take credit for it. Okay, that's Jen's approval. Noted data scientist. Appreciate it.
I just know that
do you have anything to add about the charts, Jen?
Control better have Will's chart locked and loaded so we can see a compare and contrast.
The chart was easy to. It wasn't overloaded with information. It was easy to see what was going on there.
Well, okay. We respect your chart game, Will.